process, they want to make sure they have the support. So our efforts have really been to talk to the business owners and property owners and residents to get them to understand the full impact and consequences of this and to vote against it. And so, we're canvassing now, we're going door to door, we're talking to people, and we're hoping to be able to speak with everyone by, within the next 30 days.
Now, we also noted that in the manual, that part of their outreach efforts had to conduct a needs assessment survey to find out, if in fact the needs, the stakeholders' needs can be met by a bid. Did you ever see any of the summaries of those surveys and
Yeah.
what? No, you haven't.
I haven't. No, I mean,
Okay.
we asked them at one point. I think if someone is interested in seeing those results, they should be able to provide them.
Right.
They have. I mean, we asked at one point. They didn't provide them to us, but that doesn't mean they wouldn't provide them to you all. If someone were to ask
Right.
them.
That's a good. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Let's see. I know that I've asked you haven't talked about RACA and how it was founded and what your goals are right now.
Okay, yeah, I mean, so RACA, Roosevelt Avenue Community Alliance, it's a grassroots organization, and we really formed when we started to learn more about what the Business Improvement District was, and we have regular meetings, town hall events where we've had 100 people. We've shown movie screenings about gentrification and business improvement districts and other neighborhoods and what their impacts have been. Our focus is a lot on canvassing in the area and talking to the business owners and property owners. And we are trying to do public rallies and events to kind of get our message out into the media and out amongst the general population. We've gotten some good media coverage, Spanish, English language coverage. Actually on Telemundo is going to be this Thursday and Friday from 6 to 7 in the morning. There's going to be a 2-part series on the Business Improvement District. And certain business owners are going to be talking that we've been in contact with. They're going to be speaking from their perspective, and Julissa Ferreras will be speaking from her perspective, and some of the business owners that she's and the BID have been in contact with. So that should be the most recent press coverage on this. Yeah, so we are, we're very active. We have a lot of local residents, a lot of students from Queens College are involved in RACA,
Jesse's not here. He's absent today, but he's active in RACA.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, the other thing that is crucial here is that alongside the Business Improvement District, the Business Improvement District is one part of what the council member is calling the New Deal for Roosevelt Avenue.
Right.
And there are 7 points of that New Deal. One of them is the rezoning, and the other is better business environment, lighting underneath the 7 train, a car-free Corona Plaza, and community-focused safety, and a Roosevelt Avenue task force.
Okay, good.
So the task force is something that is being assembled alongside the bid. It's going to involve more policing in the area. It's going to involve all of the various government enforcement agencies like the Department of Consumer Affairs, the Department of Buildings, Department of Transportation, Tax and Limousine Commission. All of these groups, there's the idea is that they were going to work as a unit. And what we're trying to find out is what exactly that means. We feel that what the objective of this is really to sort of, on the one hand, punish the small businesses, because a lot of the businesses are operating with a high level of informality. For immigrant entrepreneurs who don't have access to capital, there may be a life savings on the line, or there may be, family labor involved, or there may be, a lot of businesses get, they get fined large amounts for some minor thing, right? I mean, anyone could say that this is just extremely expensive, the kinds of fines that people are charged with. If they, are working in a small space because the rents are so high and they cut a pathway through the wall or something, the place can get shut down for 2 months when, arguably it's a relatively minor violation. So we feel that the task force is coming in, it's going to really enforce all of these regulations at the same time as it's going to bring in a lot more policing to the public space of the area. And we feel this is really a whole disciplinary apparatus that's being assembled alongside the Business Improvement District in an area that's gentrifying, in an area that's really going to go through a major change in terms of the retail stores and the population that feels welcomed in the area. In a neighborhood that already has, Corona has the highest number of ICE apprehensions in the entire city. Jackson Heights has the third highest number of stop and frisks in the city, and it also has one of the lowest crime rates. And if you can compare the numbers happening in Julissa Ferreras' district number 25 with Danny Drum's district 21, and they're very different. They're much lower in Danny Drum's district, and the same communities are living in both districts. So it's really interesting to see how, how do different policies get enacted under different council districts in collaboration with law enforcement. And so that's another thing that we're very concerned about, and monitoring, the targeting of particular communities that live in the area.
So pretty much the task force is sort of a method by which they're creating a corridor as a upscale sort of commercial area as a way to sort of push out the local community members who are not violent.
Yes, yeah. I mean, there are certainly, yeah. So basically, that's the objective. I mean, there's a whole idea, especially one idea that was popularized under Bratton, who, when he was the police commissioner under Giuliani, which was this idea of broken windows theory, which is that if you have a broken window in a neighborhood and it isn't something that people fix, that it can lead to a situation in which there's a higher likelihood of violent crime that takes place. So this is something that when Bratton was, the first time he was police commissioner, meant an increasing policing of minor misdemeanors like squeegeing cars or playing loud music or jumping turnstiles. And this was a way in which whole sectors of the population were criminalized. Homelessness became a crime to be homeless, and street vending also. These were things that were seen as disruptions to the social order. And the whole broken windows idea is that you create an image of social order, and that minimizes the incidence of violence and crime. It doesn't actually address structural inequality or oppression or things like that. It's just about creating a certain urban aesthetics to an environment. And so when you talk about gentrifying Roosevelt Avenue, there are certain social activities like that give it an image of this corridor of vice, the way it's represented in the New York Times, that are going to put significant sort of limits on how it's able to kind of upscale itself. So I think the Roosevelt Avenue Task Force is really there to kind of address that image of Roosevelt Avenue.
Now, Marty, aside from the news coverage of Julissa Ferreras noting that the Roosevelt Avenue Task Force was one point in her New Deal, along with the formation of a bid, where would we learn more about the Roosevelt Avenue Task Force? Is there a community committee that's working on forming this, or?
Yeah, it's, we are trying to learn as much as we can. It's something that is happening mostly behind closed doors. They had one meeting, and the press was not invited, the public was not allowed to go. We heard that there was going to be a second meeting happening in January or February, and then it got canceled. I think maybe that had to do with the fact that the whole, the new administration was coming in, and there was a lot of transition in the various government agencies, and Councilmember Ferreras had just been appointed to the Finance Committee, so I don't know, maybe there were people who were busy, but anyway, there's supposed to be a second meeting of the task force happening sometime soon, but we don't know exactly when it's happening, and we don't know the kinds of discussions. We're trying to kind of figure that out. We have people, like Raka is working closely with two organizations, one of them Vamos Unidos, which is a street vendor community organization that's based in the Bronx, and they have an office in Jackson Heights. We're also working with a group called DRUM, which is Desi Rising Up and Moving. It's a South Asian worker center and community center, and they're also based in Jackson Heights. And so, they're very involved in understanding police surveillance and the targeting of Muslim community in Jackson Heights, and for their membership was very concerned about what this task force is going to mean. So we're trying to collect data on this.
Right. Do we know if the bid stakeholders are involved with the Roosevelt Avenue Task Force discussions?
Yeah, from the press coverage, there was just like one short article in like the Queens Chronicle,
Okay.
and then there were some statements from Councilmember Ferreras about this, but I think the idea is that the representatives from the business community will be on the task force, and that will include the business improvement district, I assume. And, you know, business improvement districts, when you read about all the different types there are out there, they are often the ones hiring private security to kind of police the area. They're otherwise working in close connection with the precincts. So I don't think the Jackson Heights Corona Business Improvement District will be hiring private security, but they'll probably be working with the precincts, you know, to sort of advance the interests of their membership, which are the property owners, and, you know, to some extent the business owners. And so the fact that the task force is also going to have all of these enforcement agencies regarding business activity seems to suggest that there is going to be, I mean, I don't know if it's going to be a central organizing committee within the task force, but it seems to me that it will have a role to play in it.
Now, there's a Junction Boulevard Merchants Association are they supportive of the bid expansion to
Yes.
include Junction Boulevard?
Yes, the Junction Boulevard Merchants Association, John Ferreira, who is the president of that association, is on the steering committee. He is, you know, has his concerns, but he's basically in support. In my canvassing of Junction Boulevard, my question to him is how many of those businesses are actually part of his association, because a lot of people I talk to don't know John Ferreira. But he represents the kind of merchants association that puts up the Christmas lights every December and does like certain activities and events in the area. So he's supportive of it, but I really don't know how much in contact he is with his membership.
Right.
You know, I think he's done he's in contact with some folks, but maybe some of the property owners. But but the other local merchant association in the area, which is in the Corona Community Action Network, which was founded by Ruben Pena, someone else in the area, you know, actually fell apart because of the bid. Like Ruben Pena, the founder, was against the business improvement district, but the board of directors there was for it. And eventually, in communication with Seth Taylor, everyone on the board of directors resigned, or they decided to just end Corona Can because, you know, there was some significant disagreements about this new formation, the business improvement district. So, you know, local merchant associations are, you know, one of them was ended as a result of this process. And the other thing that we're very interested in is the whole question of the management of Corona Plaza, because that's one of the sort of points of the New Deal. Everyone thinks that Corona Plaza is this great, you know, space, a new destination for the neighborhood. And the big question is, right now, the way community plazas work is that the city, which provides funding for these plazas, likes to find a local nonprofit organization that can sort of do the maintenance and raise funds to manage it. Right now, it's the Queens Economic Development Corporation. They have 3 years of funding. They've done about 1.5 years so far, but they very much want the bid to form and that the bid would take over the management of Corona Plaza. They're working in connection with the Queens Museum to do programming. But our sort of question is, okay, if the bid doesn't form, what can be that entity that takes over, you know, the management of Corona Plaza? So we're kind of looking at whether LULAC, which is close by, the League of United Latin American Citizens, can be involved in that in connection with the Queens Museum, maybe, you know, I don't know, Queens College. Maybe there can be some kind of group of organizations that could take on the management of the Corona Plaza if the business improvement district, you know, isn't formed.
Yeah, this was something that we actually discussed last week, because we did read a chapter of Jessica Garza's thesis that was on the Queens Museum and their engagement with participatory planning in Corona. So we did read about the Queens College social practice class that met at the Immigrant Movement International, which is where we're going to hold our stakeholder meetings. And that did come up about the Queens College and the Queens Museum involvement with the Corona Plaza, but that Queens Museum did not want to be the entity responsible for management because of the cost of the liability as well as the maintenance, insurance, and that it really kind of was beyond the purview of what their organizational mission is. But it does sound like that the bid assessments would in part, could be used for maintaining this, and so the finding an alternative does sound like would be really important.